Hi guys, Jay Knowlton here once again, and today I want to talk a little bit about, well, a lot of foreigners in Japan are kind of worrying about this rising anti-foreigner sentiment that's apparently coming up in Japan, and that's because next weekend, I believe, the 19th, 20th, 21st, the weekend is the election for Japan, and there's a kind of not newish, well, it's kind of new. It kind of cropped up during the corona pandemic. They're called Sanseto. And a lot of their rhetoric has been about Nihonjin first, Japanese people first, and a lot of anti-immigration, or we cannot give so much to foreigners, we should prioritize Japanese people. And a lot of people are starting to become very worried about that and kind of reacting to it online and stuff. And for me, I've been in Japan for 12 years, and this kind of mindset is not new. Probably a lot of people who've held these opinions for a long time. It's just now, no matter where you go in the world, obviously Donald Trump got into power in America, and a lot of that was based off immigration. The Reform Party in the UK is getting bigger and bigger, and a lot of their stuff is about anti-immigration. And it's not necessarily about anti-immigration, it's about doing immigration in the right way. So should you be worried about, Japanese people being kind of not accepting foreigners, or am I going to get kicked out of Japan? And the easy answer is no. First of all, this party is not going to win, though it might kind of push this kind of mindset of anti-immigration to the front of other parties as well. It's kind of like the Reform Party in the UK, where because they're becoming more and more popular, it's kind of pushing other parties to include immigration policies as well, because that's what a lot of voters seem to think about. And I can't 100% blame some Japanese people for being wary of the amount of foreigners increasing in Japan. First of all, Japan is a very homogeneous society. It's still 96 point something percent Japanese. So almost everyone you're going to see on the street is a Japanese person. In the countryside, it's probably going to be 100% Japanese. So it's still new for a lot of people here. Now, combine that with the fact that tourism has absolutely boomed in the past few years. Now, the good side about a lot of tourism is that a lot of people really want to come to Japan, and a lot of people really like Japan, and Japan will get a lot of money from that. However, for a lot of people, it's inconvenient for them. Imagine if you're a member of staff at a small restaurant in the middle of Tokyo, and suddenly you've got tons of people who cannot speak Japanese, don't know the rules, can't read the menu, kind of taking up a lot of space, a lot of time, coming into your store. Now, I'm sure the staff are grateful for the business, but it doesn't mean that they're able to manage things effectively. Kyoto is obviously an example of a place that's kind of really struggled to manage the number of people coming. Buses can't really take local people to where they want to go anymore. Roads are jammed, stores are busy, people really getting in the way. I was just on Instagram before this video, and there was I believe it was an American, and it was a dad with 4 kids, and they'd kind of documented their trip to Tokyo, and a lot of their comments are just absolute, just hate messages all over the place, because they broke a lot of Japanese etiquette things. And the issue with Japan is having rules and having manners is good. Japan has a lot of rules and manners. Some of them I completely understand, don't block the aisles of the trains with your suitcase. You should be able to, no matter what country you're in, you should be able to use your eyes and see that nobody can get past. I mean, no matter what country, what culture, whatever you're from, you should be able to notice, if I block the aisles with my suitcases, no one's going to be able to get past. But it's that kind of I don't give an F attitude that a lot of, maybe particularly Americans, have, that can kind of piss people off. Another instance was the same Instagrammer kind of using their pushchair on the escalator, which, so when I saw people fighting in the comments, a lot of them say Japanese people do that too. I'll be honest, I've been in Japan for over a decade. I could probably count the amount of times I've seen a Japanese person go on the escalator with their pushchair on one hand. It's not very often at all. And then he let his kid stand on the train seats with their shoes on. And now, if you know anything about Japanese culture at all, they are very sensitive about shoes and dirt, especially where people are sitting. You can't walk into houses with your shoes on. So that should be a key, that should click in your head. It's not good. And no matter what country you're in, standing on seats with your shoes on shouldn't really be acceptable in the first place. You're going to get dirt all over it. And this particular Instagrammer didn't make things easier because he kept using the excuse that the kid is only 2 and that's why the kid was doing it. But I've had a 2-year-old. I run a preschool which has a class of 12 2-year-olds. The 2-year-olds that I engage with don't do that kind of stuff, and if you tell them to stop, they would probably stop. But then back to the political stuff. Some of the stuff that the Sanseto party is talking about is there are foreigners who are not paying properly into health insurance and pension, or kind of getting high expensive, kind of high cost procedures and then running away. This is a difficult issue to really go into because it's not something that most of us, me and the people watching this video, are gonna have much experience with. I'm guessing most of the people who watch this video are probably English teachers or people working in Japan who do pay their way into society and do things the right way. But I'm sure there are a lot of people who do try and cheat the system or take advantage of the system. And again, it's not unique to Japan. I remember there was a whole instance of, I remember when England had to prevent certain countries' pregnant women from coming to England because people would come to England to give birth to their kids because obviously the NHS is free. So it's not just something that only happens in Japan. England is obviously a country with a free healthcare system. Some of the things that I've seen are complaining about people coming and abusing the system. It's something that can happen in other places. And not just the healthcare system or something like that. I have seen foreigners who purposely don't pay their pension if they get the slips and then just end up leaving Japan. So again, there are laws which we have to pay into the pension system because the pension is not only for us, it's for everyone. And then it's not related to public services or anything, but I have met foreigners who have come here and just run away from their jobs and flown back. So those kind of things stick with people. The big issue is that those cases are probably relatively small. And I'm sure there are also Japanese people who don't follow the rules and also don't pay into the systems like they should be as well. The issue is, when it comes to Japanese people, you can't kick people out of their own country. So you have to turn to stopping people at least coming in to do those kind of bad things. But it is probably quite over-exaggerated. There was one where I think they were talking about how foreigners are coming in and buying shrines and stuff like that, which has probably never ever happened. But that's kind of the insane talking points that end up coming up, especially when you start spreading these anti-foreigner messages, that people end up just going to create their own stories, and those stories also spread. A lot of the issues as well seem to be about Chinese people buying a lot of land in different parts of Japan. And I have to try and find his name. I think it's Yamataro. He's the leader of the Reiwa party. They're the most left party in Japan. And he talked about how, of course, Chinese people are going to come and buy the land in Japan if it's for sale, because strong countries will come and take over the weaker countries. Back when Japan had a bubble and Japan had so much money, Japanese people would go to other countries and buy property and land there too because they could afford it, and they would go to cheaper countries and buy stuff. So it's only normal that a country or people from countries that have more money would come and buy stuff in Japan. That's kind of how the world works. It's quite difficult to just say this country can't buy land. And then at the end of the day, who's selling it? It's probably Japanese people who are selling it because they want the money. So you've kind of got this big battle as well, where maybe they want to they want to lessen tourism, or they want to lessen the sale of land. But at the end of the day, they're also profiting off those things as well. They're talking about how the amount of births last year was under 700,000, the lowest number ever. And that's not really a problem with foreigners. In fact, actually, that's a problem foreigners can help solve, because probably foreigners who come here might end up getting married and having children. They kind of talked about how, there's LGBT problems and how they need to kind of stop that because that's causing the reduction of births as well. And I remember when this issue came up in England of, allowing more LGBT stuff will stop babies being born. And it's not like a gay person is going to stop being gay and have kids just because the country doesn't accept them being gay anymore. I don't think that's how it works. I think if a country made being gay illegal, a gay person is just going to suddenly turn around and say, well, I guess I like women again now. That's not how things work. So personally, me, myself, I own a home. I run a business. I pay my pension, my health insurance. I got my driver's license here in Japan by going to driving school, because that's another thing people are complaining about, how it's too easy for foreigners to change their licenses, and there's been a lot of accidents. Though I think the actual statistics show that the number of accidents was actually less with foreigners in proportion to the number of people. But I don't know the specifics on that one. But I got my driving license here. I have a daughter here. I have a wife here. I personally am not worried about me because I do things the right way. I'm here legally. I have a visa. But it might get more tough in the future for people who don't come here with good faith and might struggle to get the things that they're trying to get. It's kind of like with England now, where they're trying to stop the boats, or they're gonna stop giving them hotels, or they're thinking about the benefit system. I think naturally over time these things are gonna get thought about and maybe dealt with. One issue that might come up is that they are talking about how kind of business visas and nomad visas are very easy to get. And you can come and live in Japan and get a permanent residency quite quickly as long as you have the money. Because not many countries really have a system like that. And even actually thinking about it, getting a marriage visa in Japan is very, very easy as well. You just have to marry a Japanese national and you will end up getting a visa. I can't bring my wife to England unless I have a specific amount of money in savings, because even if you're in an international marriage, they won't allow you to just bring your family unless you can show that you can pay for that family. So that's something that might get looked at in the future. So it's something to be aware of. If you do get married in Japan, make sure you get rich while you're doing it. That's all for now, guys. I'll see you all next time. Thank you for watching.